The sky above the alien planet was dark blue. Lit by 2 cold moons, Jaden, a young human farmer, stood alone in his field, watching the stars. The soil under his boots was soft and full of life. He had been growing earth crops on this planet for almost 3 years. He liked the silence here, the peace, the way time moved slowly. But tonight, something felt wrong. The wind was too quiet. And the night too. Still, Jaden looked around, his flashlight sweeping across rows of tall alien plants. They glowed faintly in the dark, like green candles. Suddenly, a soft sound made him freeze. Footsteps, light and quick, coming from behind. He turned fast, hand near the small stun gun on his belt. But what he saw was not a threat. It was a girl, or at least she looked like one. Her skin was a pale silver, her hair long and dark, her eyes glowing green. She wore torn clothes and no shoes, her arms thin, her face tired. She didn't speak at first, just looked at Jaden with deep sadness. He took a small step forward, confused. "Who are you?" he asked. The girl stepped closer, her voice barely a whisper. "They're stealing from you," she said. Jaden blinked. "What?" he asked, heart starting to race. But she said nothing more. Suddenly, a loud engine roared above them. Jaden looked up to see a strange ship flying low. It moved fast, its lights off, disappearing into the forest beyond his farm. When he looked back, the girl was gone. She had vanished like smoke. Jaden stood there, frozen, the sound of the ship still echoing in his ears. His mind spun with questions. Who was she? What did she mean? What was that ship doing, flying so low? He walked back to his crops, trying to calm down. Then he saw something strange. One of the plants was glowing brighter than usual. Too bright, he knelt down and touched it. It felt warm, almost hot, and it was humming. Jaden dug around it and found something buried just beneath. A round metal object with strange markings. It wasn't his. He had never seen anything like it. He picked it up carefully and stared at it. It looked like it came from another world. Suddenly, a memory came back 2 weeks ago. Some of his tools had gone missing. He thought he had simply misplaced them. Last month, he noticed the crops weren't growing as they should. He blamed it on the soil, but now things started to connect. He stood and looked toward the forest. That's where the ship went. That's where the girl disappeared. And that's where the answers were. Jaden didn't sleep that night. He stayed awake, checking his crops, walking the edges of his land. At one point, he thought he saw glowing eyes watching him from the trees, but when he shined his light, there was nothing there. The next morning, he tried to tell his neighbor, a trader who came by once a week, but the man laughed and said Jaden probably just dreamed it. Jaden didn't argue, but inside, he knew something was happening. And he knew he couldn't ignore the warning that evening. He returned to the spot where he met the girl. He waited there, hoping she would return. The moons rose again, painting the field in silver light. Then, just like before, she appeared. She stepped out of the shadows, quiet and calm. "You came back," Jaden said. "I had to," she answered. "They're moving fast now." "Who?" he asked. "Tell me what's going on." She looked up at the sky. Then back at him. "They think you're alone," she said. "They think no one will notice, but I noticed," Jaden said. "And now, I want the truth." She hesitated, then finally said, "You're standing on more than just land. There's something under it, something powerful. They want it." Jaden's hands tightened into fists. "Then they'll have to take it from me," he said. The girl's eyes glowed brighter, and she gave the smallest smile. "Good," she whispered. "Because they're coming soon." She vanished into the night again. But this time, Jaden didn't feel afraid. He felt ready. Whatever was coming, he would be prepared, and he would not face it alone. Jaden didn't sleep that night after the alien girl disappeared into the forest. Her words stayed in his mind. There's something under your land. Something powerful. He couldn't stop thinking about it. Who were they? What did they want? And how did she know so much about them? At sunrise, Jaden packed a small bag. He took his scanner, a flashlight, and a small plasma cutter. He wore his boots and a heavy jacket. Then he walked toward the trees. Following the path the strange ship took. Every few steps, he stopped to check the ground. And then he saw it. A faint trail, like burned footprints in the grass. He followed them deeper into the forest. The air was quiet, too quiet. Birds didn't sing here. And no small creatures moved in the bushes. It was like the forest itself was holding its breath. After an hour, he reached a steep hill near the base. Something caught his eye, a patch of soil that looked different. Darker, disturbed, like it had been moved recently. Jaden knelt down and used his cutter to break through the layer of roots. Beneath it was a metal hatch, circular, with no handle. Just smooth metal with strange markings. He touched it, and the scanner beeped. Unknown energy source detected. Jaden's heart raced. This was real. He wasn't imagining things. He pressed his hand against the hatch. Nothing happened at first. Then, it glowed a soft blue light tracing the edges and slowly opened. A hidden tunnel led underground. Jaden hesitated only a moment, then stepped inside. The walls were metal and smooth, humming with power. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the sides. He moved carefully, keeping his flashlight low. The air smelled of ozone and something older, something ancient. The tunnel led to a large underground chamber. And what he saw there took his breath away. Machines lined the walls, tall, black, and moving slowly. Pipes ran through the ground, pulsing with green liquid in the center. A massive generator glowed softly. It was drawing energy straight from the earth. From his land, Jaden stepped closer, trying to understand what he was looking at. Then he heard a sound behind him. He spun around and saw her, the alien girl, standing in the shadows. She looked calm, but her eyes were serious. "I told you," she said. "They've been stealing from you." Jaden stared at her, angry and confused. "You knew about this? Who are you?" She stepped forward slowly. "My name is Zira," she said, "and I used to work with them." Jaden's heart skipped. "With who?" he asked. "The ones who built this," she said, pointing to the machines, the galactic cores. Jaden had heard rumors of the cores, a powerful group that controlled trade and resources across dozens of star systems. They were supposed to help new colonies, not steal from them. Zira nodded, reading his face. "They used to be protectors," she said, "but now they take what they want. They send harvesters to quiet planets like this one. Planets no one watches." Jaden stepped back, feeling sick. "So they've been using my farm to hide this." Zira nodded. "The energy here is rare, ancient," she said. "They built this machine under your land so no one would find it, but you did." Jaden looked around the room again. All this time, he thought he was just farming. But under his feet, they had been draining something powerful, something alive. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked. Zira's voice softened. "Because I couldn't stay silent anymore," she said. "I left them when I saw what they were doing. They didn't care about you. They thought you were just a simple farmer." Jaden's hands shook. "I'm not just a farmer," he said. Zira smiled slightly. "I know," she said. "That's why I came to you." She reached into her cloak and pulled out something small and metal. She handed it to him. It was a weapon, but unlike any he had seen, sleek, dark, and humming with quiet energy. It felt warm in his hand, like it recognized him. "I found this near the edge of your field," Zira said. "It's not from the cores. It was buried long ago." Jaden looked at the strange markings on the weapon. Then he froze. His name was etched into the side. Not in English, but in an ancient script he somehow understood. He looked up at Zira. "What is this?" he asked. She looked serious. "A message," she said. "From the past, or maybe the future. I think you are meant to find it." Jaden tightened his grip on the weapon. No more hiding, no more waiting. If they thought he was just a farmer, they were about to be very wrong. Jaden didn't tell anyone about the underground chamber. He returned to his farm with the strange weapon hidden under his jacket. His mind was racing. Machines under his land, Zira's warning. The weapon with his name on it, everything was changing fast. He was no longer just a farmer. He was part of something much bigger. He spent the next day walking across his land, marking the areas where the soil felt weak or warm. He found 3 more places where the ground vibrated softly under his boots. It meant the machines below were still running, still stealing, still hidden. Jaden couldn't allow it anymore. That night, he set up small traps around the edge of his farm, basic sensors, tripwires, and motion alarms he used to protect his crops from wild animals. But now he wasn't hunting animals. He was hunting thieves. He stayed awake under the stars. Hiding behind a pile of equipment near his old tractor, the weapon Zero gave him rested in his lap. Glowing faintly, he had no idea how to use it. But something inside told him it would work if he needed it. The moons were high when he heard the first alarm. A soft beep, then a quiet hum. Someone had tripped the wire. Jaden stayed low, eyes sharp. He saw shadows moving near the edge of the field. 2 figures, maybe 3. They moved slowly, like ghosts in the dark, not talking, not rushing, professional, silent. He waited until one came close to the crop rows. Then he jumped out, weapon raised. "Stop right there," he shouted. The figure froze, then turned to run. Jaden fired, and a beam of blue light shot from the weapon. It hit the ground near the figure's feet, sparking. The figure stumbled, and Jaden tackled him. They rolled in the dirt. Kicking and struggling, Jaden ripped off the black helmet covering the intruder's face. What he saw made him gasp. The face was part human, but the eyes glowed red, the skin looked pale and fake, and parts of the jaw were metal, a machine, a living machine. The creature hissed at him, voice cold and broken. "You shouldn't have seen this," it said. Jaden stepped back, stunned. "What are you?" he asked. "I'm a harvester," it replied. "And this land is not yours anymore." Before Jaden could speak again, the creature's chest began to blink, a red light, fast and dangerous. Zira had warned him some of them could self-destruct. Jaden ran just in time, diving behind the tractor as the creature exploded in a flash of white heat. The shockwave knocked over tools and lit part of the grass on fire. Jaden crawled to safety, coughing from the smoke. He stared at the smoking remains of the harvester. Metal pieces lay scattered, some still glowing. This was real. This was war. The next morning, he found Zero waiting at the edge of his field. She looked at the burned grass and the twisted metal. "They sent a scout," she said, "to test your defense." Jaden nodded. "I caught him, but he blew himself up," he said. "Why do they do that?" "They protect the secret," Zira answered. "They don't want anyone to know they're here, but they know you're watching now. So they'll come again, stronger, faster." Jaden looked at the sky. The moon's fading as sunlight took their place. "What do I do?" he asked. "You prepare," she said, "because this is only the beginning." That evening, Jaden worked until dark, building stronger traps. He reinforced the fences, installed more sensors. He didn't care if people thought he was crazy. He knew the truth now. He had seen it with his own eyes. He trained with the weapon too. It responded to his thoughts, almost like it knew what he wanted. He could make it shoot wide beams, short blasts, or even silent waves that stunned animals without hurting them. It was more than a gun. It was a tool built for someone who wanted to protect. As the sun set again, Jaden stood at the edge of his field. Zira appeared beside him. Quiet as always, he glanced at her. "Why me?" He asked, "Why did you choose to warn me?" She looked at him, her green eyes calm. "Because you listened," she said. Most humans don't. Jaden looked back at his land. They thought he was weak. They thought he wouldn't fight. But they were wrong. The shadows were coming. But Jaden was ready. Jaden knew he couldn't fight this war alone. One man with one strange weapon could only do so much. The machines were coming, and next time, they wouldn't send just one scout. They would send a whole squad, or worse. Zira stood with him near the old barn, the morning wind moving through the crops. "They will return soon," she said quietly. Jaden nodded. "I need help," he said. "But who will believe me?" Zira looked away, her voice soft. "There are others," she said. "People like you, humans. Aliens who were stolen from, left behind, forgotten." Jaden's eyes narrowed. "Where?" he asked. Zira looked to the horizon. "Not far," she whispered. "But hidden, they've been waiting for a reason to rise." That afternoon, they left the farm. Zira led Jaden through deep forest paths and rocky valleys. She moved fast, silent, like she knew every tree and shadow after hours of walking. They reached a cliffside, overgrown with vines. Zira placed her hand on a hidden panel in the stone. The rock slid open without a sound. Behind it was a narrow tunnel that led underground. Cool air rushed past them as they stepped inside. Jaden's breath caught when he saw what was waiting below. A hidden village carved inside the mountain. Dozens of people moved around quietly, repairing gear, training, guarding gates. They were not soldiers. They were survivors. Some were humans from distant colonies. Others were aliens with bright skin, wings, scales, or horns. All had the same look in their eyes: pain, anger, and fire. Zira raised her voice. "He's the one I told you about," she said. The farmer who saw through the lies, they looked at Jaden with curiosity. Some with doubt. One older man stepped forward, his face covered in scars. "You bring us a farmer?" He asked Zira. Jaden answered before she could speak. "I was just a farmer," he said. "Until they tried to take what was mine, they burned my land, sent machines to kill me, and buried weapons under my soil." He held up the strange glowing weapon. "I didn't ask for this fight," he said. "But I'm in it now, and I know I'm not the only one." The villagers stood in silence for a moment. Then, one by one, they nodded. The old man stepped closer and placed his hand on Jaden's shoulder. "Then we stand with you," he said. That night, Jaden sat by a small fire as Zira explained everything. "The cores hides what they do," she said. "They send harvesters to small planets, drain the energy, erase the damage, and move on. They keep the galaxy quiet with lies and fear." Jaden looked at the villagers training in the shadows. "They don't look like fighters," he said. Zira shook her head. "They weren't," she said. "But war turns people into warriors over the next few days." Jaden trained with them. He learned how to fight close and far, how to move without sound, how to use alien tech. He trained with his weapon too, unlocking new modes with every thought. He even started teaching others how to defend themselves slowly. The villagers began to see him not just as a visitor, but as a leader. One evening, while setting up defenses around the cliff, Zira stood beside him. "You've changed," she said. Jaden looked at his hands, rough and dirty. "I had two," he said. "I won't let them take anything else," she nodded. "There's one more thing you should know," she said. "Your farm. It's not just special because of the energy." Jaden turned to her. Confused, "It sits on ancient tech," she said. Old and forgotten, but powerful. That's why they came. Jaden stared at the stars above. So all this time, his quiet life had been sitting on top of a buried secret. A secret the cores would kill for, suddenly. An alarm rang through the village. Red lights flashed along the walls. And voices shouted from the tunnels. Jaden and Zero ran to the top of the cliff. What they saw made everyone stop. A massive ship was descending from the sky, dark and silent, shaped like a dagger. It blocked the sun as it hovered over Jaden's land. The cores had returned. Zero's voice was calm but cold. "They're not here to talk," she said. Jaden's eyes narrowed. "Then we don't talk either," he said. "We fight." The villagers moved quickly, grabbing weapons, sealing tunnels. Jaden stood at the front, his glowing weapon in hand. He was no longer just a farmer. He was the first line of defense, and he would not back down. The ship hovered like a shadow of death over Jaden's farm. Its engines made no sound, but the ground trembled beneath it. Crops shook, trees leaned away, and the birds in the forest vanished into silence. Jaden stood at the edge of the cliff with Zero beside him. The villagers gathered behind them, quiet and ready. "They came faster than I expected," Jaden said. Gripping his glowing weapon, Zero narrowed her eyes. "They know you're a threat now," she said. "They want to crush hope before it spreads." A smaller ship broke off from the large one and flew low over the fields. It fired a beam of red energy that sliced through one of the barns. The explosion was sharp, and fire burst into the sky. Jaden's heart dropped. That barn held his tools. His work, pieces of his life. Now it was burning, turning to ash. Jaden's jaw clenched. "They want to scare me," he said. "But they've only made me angry." Down in the hidden valley, the villagers scrambled into positions. Alien rifles were handed out, shields powered on. Children were rushed into tunnels, guarded by the old and injured. Everyone else picked up a weapon. They were farmers, mechanics, traders, but now they were soldiers. Jaden led the first team to the edge of the tree line. He had studied the terrain well. If the machines tried to land, they would have to come through narrow paths, perfect for traps. He activated the tripwires, the shock fields, and the mines they had hidden underground. A second ship landed near the crops, its legs digging into the soil. A ramp opened, and figures marched out, black armor, red visors. Weapons in hand, harvesters. Jaden raised his weapon. "Wait for it," he whispered. The harvesters stepped forward, scanning the area. Then one of them tripped the wire. An explosion lit the air. Throwing two machines into the sky, the battle began. Jaden and his team opened fire from behind the trees. The glowing weapon in Jaden's hand hummed with power. Each shot struck with force, disabling the machines in one hit. The villagers followed his lead, moving fast, working together. The first wave of harvesters fell quickly. But more kept coming. From the sky, drones flew down, scanning and firing beams into the forest. One blast hit near Jaden, throwing him back. His shoulder burned. But he pushed through the pain. Zero pulled him behind a rock and covered him with shots from her twin pistols. "You all right?" she shouted. Jaden nodded, coughing from the smoke. "We can't let them get past the trees," he said. "If they reach the village, we lose everything." A group of villagers on the ridge fired a missile into the second ship. It exploded with a burst of green flame, pieces falling like metal rain. But the main ship above the farm didn't move. It only watched, as if waiting. Jaden noticed it. "They're testing us again," he said. "This isn't the full invasion." Zero looked at the giant ship and nodded. "They want to see if you're worth the real fight," she said. Jaden's eyes burned. "Then let's show them what we're made of." Suddenly, a group of harvesters broke through the northern side. Jaden ran to intercept them, firing his weapon with precision. One of the machines aimed for a young villager trying to reload. Jaden dove in front, blasting the attacker before it could fire. The impact threw him to the ground. He tried to get up, but pain shot through his side. Blood stained his shirt. Zero appeared at his side, her face full of fear. "Stay still," she said. Trying to patch the wound, Jaden grabbed her wrist. "Help the others," he said. "Don't stop now." Zira hesitated, then nodded. She stood and ran back into the fight. Her weapons blazing, Jaden's vision blurred. He could hear the sounds of battle, shouting, weapons, explosions, and then silence. He blinked up at the sky and saw the large ship slowly rising. It was leaving, retreating. The harvesters stopped moving and shut down. Jaden tried to sit up, but fell back. Dizzy and weak, Zero returned, kneeling beside him. Her arms scratched and bleeding. "They're gone," she whispered. "We held the line." Jaden looked at the burning field, at the fallen friends. "At the smoke rising into the clouds, we won," he asked. Zero nodded slowly. "For now," she said. "But they'll come again." Jaden closed his eyes, breathing heavily. "They'll find a different welcome next time," he said. Zira touched his hand gently. "There's one last thing," she whispered. "Something I haven't told you." Jaden opened his eyes again. Barely. "What is it?" he asked. Zira looked away, her voice quiet. "It's about me," she said, "and who I really am." Jaden lay on a medical cot inside the hidden village. The lights above him were soft and blue. Humming quietly, his sides still hurt from the fight. But he was alive. The villagers had stopped the first wave. They had saved the farm, but the cost was heavy. 3 had died, many were wounded, and the fields were still burning. But something else was burning to a fire inside Jaden's heart. He knew now this fight was bigger than just his land. It was about freedom, about truth, about standing up when no one else would. Zira sat beside him, quiet and tense. She hadn't said anything since they carried him from the battlefield. But Jaden remembered her words. "There's one last thing. Something I haven't told you." He turned his head slowly, his voice low. "You said there's more," he whispered. "About who you really are." Zero looked at him, her eyes shining green in the dim light. She took a long breath, as if pulling heavy chains off her chest. "Yes," she said. "You deserve to know." She stood up and stepped into the light. "I'm not just a runaway," she said. "Not just another alien who disagreed with the cores." Jaden watched her closely. She touched the side of her neck and activated something. A shimmer passed over her body. And in seconds, her form shifted slightly. Her face became sharper, her posture straighter. She looked royal. "I am Zira Valancourt," she said. "Daughter of High Commander Ryvek of the Galactic Corps." Jaden blinked. Stunned, he sat up despite the pain. "You're the daughter of the one leading this invasion?" he asked. Zira nodded slowly. "Yes," she said. "And I ran away the day I found out what he was doing to innocent worlds." She walked toward the window and looked out over the mountains. "He trains us to follow rules, to obey, to serve the cores," she said. "But he never told us they were thieves. I believed in peace, in protection, but when I saw the harvesters destroy my first planet, I couldn't stay." Jaden struggled to understand. "So you were raised by him, trained by him, and then you turned against him." Zero looked over her shoulder. "I couldn't be like him," she said. "I saw a child screaming as their home was taken apart by machines. I saw farmers beaten for asking questions, and I saw a planet that reminded me of yours, green, quiet, peaceful." Jaden's voice was heavy. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" Zira looked down, her voice soft. "Because I didn't think you'd trust me," she said. "Not if you knew who my father was." Jaden sat silently for a moment. Then he nodded. "I would have hated you," he admitted. but not now. You stood by us when no one else did. You bled for this land." Zira's eyes filled with emotion. "Thank you," she whispered. "But there's more," she added. "My father is coming himself next time." Jaden's heart tightened. Why would he come here personally? He asked, "Because of what lies under your farm?" she said. "It's not just rare energy, it's ancient technology. Technology that can wake sleeping systems across the galaxy." Jaden looked confused. "Sleeping systems?" Zero nodded. "Old weapons, lost ships, even star forges," she said. "If the cores takes full control of your land, they'll unlock power no one should have." Jaden stood slowly, pain still biting his side. "Then we don't let that happen," he said. Zira gave a sad smile. "It won't be easy," she said. "My father commands thousands, but we have something he doesn't." Jaden raised an eyebrow. "What?" Zira looked him in the eyes. "You," she said. "A human who didn't run, didn't bow, didn't give up. You stood up when others hid." Jaden looked down at his weapon, still glowing faintly on the table. It responded to him more now, almost like it trusted him. "Then let's give him a welcome he'll never forget," he said. Zero walked over and placed a hand on his shoulder. "I'll stand with you," she said. "Even if it means facing my own blood." A loud knock echoed at the door. One of the villagers rushed in, out of breath. "There's a signal from space," he said. "A large ship is on approach, massive." Heavily armed, Jaden and Zero looked at each other. "He's here," she whispered. Jaden nodded. "Then let's finish this," he said, "one way or another." The sky above Jaden's land turned dark, not because of clouds, but because of the ship. It was massive, the size of a city, floating low in the sky like a giant shadow. Lights flickered across its surface, weapons powered and aimed. A cold voice echoed across the valley through speakers. "This world now belongs to the galactic core." Jaden stood at the edge of his farm, weapon in hand, his body still healing. Zero stood beside him, her face calm, but her eyes storming. "They're trying to scare us," Jaden said. Zero nodded. "It's not fear they want," she said. "It's control." The villagers were ready. They stood in the fields and along the hills, holding weapons, wearing armor pieced together from old scraps. They didn't look like soldiers, but they stood like warriors. Zero looked up at the giant ship. "My father is on that ship," she said, "and he won't back down." Jaden stared at the sky. "Then neither will we," he said. A beam of light shot down from the ship and formed a glowing platform. Moments later, a tall figure stepped onto the ground. He wore shining black armor, and his face was hidden behind a mask. Zira stepped forward. "Father," she called out, her voice strong. The man stopped. "Zira," he said. "You disappoint me." She stepped closer. "You've become the very thing you once fought against," she said. "You steal from the weak and destroy peaceful worlds." The commander lifted his helmet, revealing a cold, proud face. "We bring order," he said. "We bring strength." Jaden stepped beside her. "And you call that strength?" He asked. "Burning farms, killing children, hiding like cowards underground." The commander sneered. "You're just a farmer," he said. "You should have stayed in your fields." Jaden raised his weapon. "I am a farmer," he said. "And that's why I'm dangerous, because I know what it means to build, to protect, to fight for something that matters." The commander raised his hand. Hundreds of harvesters dropped from the sky, landing all across the valley. They marched forward, metal legs crushing the soil. But the villagers didn't run. They stood their ground. Zira drew her twin pistols and nodded. "Now," she said. The first line of villagers opened fire, and the final battle began. Jaden ran across the field, firing his weapon, every blast precise. The weapon glowed brighter with every hit. Responding to his will, the harvesters returned fire, beams slicing through the air. But the villagers used the terrain, hiding behind rocks and trees. Ambushing from above, Zero fought beside Jaden. Moving like lightning, every shot hitting its target. They worked together like one mind, covering each other, protecting the others. Explosions lit up the field. The crops burned again. But this time, they fought back. The commander watched from above, then stepped onto the battlefield. He marched straight toward Jaden, each step shaking the ground. The harvesters cleared a path for him. Zira turned, her face full of emotion. "I'll stop him," she said. Jaden shook his head. "We do it together." They stood side by side as the commander approached. "You still don't understand," he said. "This land is nothing. The tech beneath it is what matters." Jaden pointed his weapon at him. "No," he said. "What matters is who's willing to protect it." The commander charged. Faster than Jaden expected, blades shot from his arms. Swinging with deadly speed, Jaden blocked with his weapon. Sparks flying, Zira jumped in, firing from both sides. Keeping her father off balance, it was 2 against 1, but he was powerful. Jaden was knocked down, his weapon sliding across the dirt. The commander raised his blade toward Zero. She stood still, not moving. "I'm not afraid of you anymore," she said. That second of hesitation was enough. Jaden grabbed his weapon and fired one final blast. It hit the commander square in the chest. The energy pulsed through his armor. Cracking it, he dropped to his knees. Gasping, Zira stepped forward. "You could have used your power for good," she said. He looked up at her. "But I didn't," he whispered. Then he collapsed. The remaining harvesters stopped, their lights fading. The battle was over. Silence returned to the valley. Smoke rose from the soil, but the air felt lighter. The villagers stood together. Tired but alive, Jaden looked at the sky. The massive ship above began to rise and drift away. Without their leader, the Corps had lost its control. Zira turned to Jaden. "It's over," she said. Jaden shook his head. "No," he said. "It's just beginning. We build now together." She smiled. "You saved more than a farm today," she said. "You gave them hope." Jaden looked around at the villagers. The broken land, the rising sun. He had started as a farmer. But now he was something more.